was the Siyum, Yud Gimel Tammuz, when he actually came out. So you recall, so the whole month he has a gather of a Chodesh HaGeula.
Alavai.
Now, Rabbi Isai, we're in the middle of learning Hilchos Tefila, and we spoke in the previous weeks about different dinim associated with Tefillah. We said there are a few things that one needs to prepare before one davens. You prepare his place where he davens, make sure it's a makim roi the Tefillah. Said he has to make sure he has a makim, his guf is roi for Tefillah. He cleans it, washes his hands, he goes to the bathroom before. Another thing is that now this week we're going to talk about the direction you're supposed to daven in. What direction is someone supposed to face when he davens? So the halach is like this: if someone is in Chutz La'aretz, he should face Eretz Yisrael when he davens. Like the pasuk says, "V'ispalu eilecha derech artzam," and they daven to you through their land, via their land. You should have in mind also keneged Yishalayim, keneged the Beis Hamikdash, and keneged the Kodesh Hakadoshim. But Lamaisa, when you're outside Eretz Yisrael, you're not facing the Kodesh Hakadoshim or Yishalayim. You're facing Eretz Yisrael in general. At the Middle East, you're facing east. That's where Eretz Yisrael is. So you face Mizrach to the east, but you have in mind that you're davening really Yishalayim, Keneged Yishalayim, Beis Hamikdash, and in the Beis Hamikdash, the Kodesh HaKadoshim, the holies of holies. What happens if you're in Eretz Yisrael and you're davening? It's not the same. When you're in Eretz Yisrael, wherever you are, you should face Yerushalayim. Shuls, when you daven, should all face Yerushalayim. And you have in mind also Keneged the Beis Hamikdash and Keneged the Kodesh HaKadoshim. What happens if in Yerushalayim? Yerushalayim, you face the Beis Hamikdash. Like it says in the pasuk, is another pasuk in Divrei Hayamim, V'hispalo al habayis hazeh. They should daven to this house, the Beis Hamikdash. And you should have in mind the Kodesh HaKadoshim. What happens if you are standing on the other side of the Beis Hamikdash, on the western side of the Kodesh HaKadoshim, and turn your face towards the east to face Kodesh HaKadoshim? If you were in the north side of the Beis Hamikdash, face to the south of it. If you're standing in its south, face to the north. So it comes out that all of Klal Yisrael in the whole entire world is all mechaven their hearts to the same place. And like this is what Chazal say, the pasuk says, Shir Hashirim, Kim Migdal David Tzavarecha, like the tower of David is your neck. Bani L'Talpias, the tower of David is the Beis Hamikdash. Bani L'Talpias, it's built as a Talpias. What is Talpias? Say Chazal, it's two words, Tel Pios. It's a tel means a mountain, a hill. Like in Hebrew, tel means a mountain. Shekol Piot, Panimbai, that all mouths, Tel Piot, all mouths are facing this hill. All around the world, our minds are all towards Eretz Yisrael, Yerushalayim, Beis Hamikdash, and Kodesh HaKadoshim. Obviously, he doesn't give the option of someone who's davening inside the Beis Hamikdash. Where should he face? We know that you should face the Kodesh HaKadoshim. He doesn't mention that here, the Alter Rebbe and Shulchan Aruch, because you are not allowed to stand in the Makom of the Mikdash today, the place of the Beis Hamikdash, because we are all Timei Mesim today. We have come in contact with dead, and we don't have an Efer Para from the Para Aduma to become Toyer to allow us to enter into the Beis Hamikdash. Therefore, we can't go into the actual area of the Beis Hamikdash itself. Now, what happens if you find yourself in another place where the shul is davening in another direction? They're not davening towards the right direction. Whatever reason the reason is. So you should at least move yourself to the side a little bit towards your face. Move your face, your body will be like everyone else davens. But turn your face, l'tzad Eretz Yisrael. If you're in Chutz La'aretz and if you're in Eretz Yisrael, face your face to Yerushalayim, and so on and so forth. Now, we face east because we are in the west, to the west of Eretz Yisrael. So we face east, we're facing Eretz Yisrael. Therefore, we always make the Aron Kodesh in Mizrach. And even in a case where they were Kiveya, the Aron Kodesh to another direction, you should still daven to Mizrach. Interesting halacha. Now, what happens if you're in Europe? Europe, they're very in northern countries, even though they are the west of Eretz Yisrael, they're still to the west of Eretz Yisrael, but they should not put the Aron Kodesh on the Mizrach wall, to the middle of the Mizrach, middle of east, only to east, to the southeast direction. I mean, a little more towards the south, because in that area, that's the place where you're going to be facing more b'diuk to Eretz Yisrael. So the Kud is not east, Mizrach. The Nakud is Eretz Yisrael and Eretz Yisrael Yerushalayim. It's not the Nakud of which direction it is. Mizrach, Ma'ir, Tzaf, and Darim. The point is we're facing Eretz Yisrael. Now, there's a very interesting Chazal in Maseches Bava Basra. Chazal tell us, Hareitze lahachkim yadrim. Someone who wants to become smart, lahachkim, hareitze lahachkim, what should he do? Yadrim, he should face to the south, because we'll see in a second why. And if he wants to rich, lahashir, to become rich, yatzpin, daven to the north. Now, the reason for this is, it's not brought down in the Shulchan Aruch, but the Gemara explains, because in the Beis Hamikdash, the menorah was on the south side. So the menorah represents Chachma. The oil, the light, represents wisdom. So face to the menorah. However, if you want to be rich, face the Shulchan, which has the lechem upon him, the Shulchan Azav, has the bread. Bread represents parnasa, food. You want to be rich, so hareitze lahachkim yadrim, hareitze lahashir yatzpin. You should go to the north. So how could this be done if we know that we have a minhag to daven towards Mizrach? If there's a minhag to daven, how can we face both directions? So the halach is like this. This is how he can go about doing it. If he wants to, he could go like this. Even if the tzibur is me'ikar hadin, even if the tzibur is facing Mizrach, and he's still allowed to face, let's say, the north or the south, whichever one he wants, Chochma or Ashiris. But he should put his face towards Mizrach, towards Eretz Yisrael, because there's an inyan of davening towards Eretz Yisrael. So his face should be towards Eretz Yisrael, but his body is facing the other direction, north or south. He could also do the opposite, says the Shulchan Aruch. He could face Mizrach, that will be where his body is facing, his feet are facing east. but his head will be turned towards south or north. And this second method is the better way to do it, because you don't want to seem like you're facing a different direction than the Kehillah. The Kehillah is all facing Mizrach. That's where their feet and their body is positioned. You should also face Mizrach, not to go. It's an important thing we always see in Torah, not to go against the call. Not to do something that Tzibur is doing one thing, I have to do different. And show everyone I'm doing something different. It's no mitzvah to do that. Obviously, the tzibur is doing something wrong. That's what you should be doing. But if not, there's no way in making differentiation and trying to make yourself better than everyone or making a shtuka machloikis. So therefore, better method for you to do is to face your feet and your position of your body towards mizrach like everyone else's. Just tilt your head either towards the south if you want chachma, or towards the north if you want richness.
I had a question, Roy.
Yeah.
The person in the Far East, like in Cambodia, wherever it is, he's in a hotel on the first floor or whatever it is. He's facing east. Right in front of him is a house of Avodah Zarah. Do the walls in his house act as a mechitza?
The walls are definitely mechitza. But I don't know if he should, if there's a window there, maybe it's different. But if the walls are there, yeah, it's a mechitza. I mean, we have.
Hello? Did he freeze? Or is it my computer?
Yeah, it was a tough question.
Probably his computer froze.
You made a mechitza or what? Don't hear you. You froze. You froze.
You know, they were told us Aaron. They had a church right there. So they made a big wall to be a mechitza. Now they turned into something else. It's not a church anymore. But when it was a church, they made a big wall around the shul.
I know there's some Chabad houses that the church and the Chabad house is one next to the other, and they share the driveway. Now nobody here, nobody?
What happened to Rabbi Lerner?
Could be mute himself?
No, he's not on. Could be either his computer died or somehow it froze and he's going to come back on.
But his question is a good question. If you're allowed to daven in your house, even though outside is avodah zarah.
Yeah. Maybe somebody can call him if they have his number.
I know many airports have like the synagogue, and next to the synagogue is a church, one next to the other.
I just tried calling and it didn't go through.
Yeah, but there might not be a getchka in that chapel, whatever, which makes a difference also.
Yeah, you certainly shouldn't face the avodah zarah.
Right.
Yeah. But in the guy's room, there might not even be the avodah zarah, depending on which goyim they are.
I think it's Kennedy Airport or Newark Airport. They have a church and a mosque and a synagogue right near each other.
In the hospitals, they have that. They often have the same room.
Right.
That's a
they have the crosses on the wall.
Well, you can cover them.
And the Magen David.
And the mug. What happened to Robert Lerner? Maybe something wrong.
If he's not facing in Israel, he's facing the computer.
I think he's listening to us.
He's looking up the answer.
Yeah.
He's off. His computer froze. Maybe he's trying to get back on.
Rabbi Lerner's internet died, so he's going to call in on the phone. He'll be on in a minute.
Thank you. Really, it's hard to be a technical person.
If you're born after 1985, it's part of it's on your birth certificate.
You know, you hit certain age in life that when you talk to people, you go like this. Hello, what? I don't hear you. But you
Yeah.
hear what you want.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I see him holding the phone. Maybe the wire went out from the computer.
So, just be patient.
One of his kids will tell him what to do.
Yeah.
I don't know how to read lips. Anybody know how to read lips?
Oh, I'm sorry, Abaisai.
Now, good, good.
I don't know what happened to the connection. Something went wrong. I don't know.
You middle answer the question about if you're in a hotel and there's a church across the street. What do you do?
Yeah. Okay, across the street. You know, if you're in a walled place, you know, you face where you face the wall of Mizrach. I don't think there's a difference.
Well, told the Sarah, there was a church right next to them, and they built a big wall around the shul, and that was it. Now it became something else. Now it's not a church anymore, but there was a church there. But they built a big wall around the shul, and that was it. They didn't have to deal with the church.
So I want to point out that there were Chachamim that will lechatchila daven always to Ma'ariv, always to the west, not like we do. This is based on the fact that it says the Shekhinah is in the west. The Shekhinah is in the west, and that's why, by the way, the sun rises in the east, it sets in the west. The system, it moves. The solar system, the system moves towards the west because the Shekhinah is in the west, and all the planets, everything's moving towards the west. It's sort of like a shtachavaya, sort of a bowing to Hashem. So some Chachamim will the Chatchila go to the west. And other Chachamim would say, no, you could daven which any direction you want because the Shekhinah is everywhere. So why should I say a certain direction specifically? So because of this, if someone started to daven for another direction, he does not need to stop and turn himself back towards Mizrach. It's okay, whichever direction he started davening, you finish a Shemoneh Esrei. No need to move in the middle of Shemoneh Esrei, because there are opinions that held Lachatchila you can go in any direction. Since there were Chachamim that went in any direction, you don't have to make any changes once you started davening already. Similarly, someone who's Rachmana litzlan blind and all as well, someone else who does not know the direction, he can't figure out where he is. You know, he's traveling. He doesn't know exactly his direction. He's not able to tell where he is. He should just daven mechaven tavinu shebashamayim, like the pasuk says, "V'spalo al Hashem." You need to daven to Hashem. So you don't know, you daven to Hashem directly. Now, what happens if you're traveling? If you're traveling, you don't have to stop when you're traveling on the way. You don't need to stop in order to stand when you're davening and face the direction of Eretz Yisrael. You don't need to stop. Chachamim were not matriach you to stop in the middle of davening, even if you're not going for some mitzvah purpose. They don't have to stop. You don't have to stop davening. You continue davening. If it's not a mokim sakana, you should try to stop at least to have kavana for the first bracha. Let's say someone's walking, you're traveling, you're traveling, and you're walking, and you're with a group, right? You don't want to stop, so you don't have to stop. However, it's right that you should stop if you could. Not a mokim sakana, to stop for the first bracha of Aves. Tol Magin Avram, the bracha we talk about the Aves, because that's the Iker bracha. Because we know that you're supposed to have kavana, you're supposed to make sure that for the very least you have kavana for the first bracha of Shemana Esrei. It's important to know that we should have kavana at least in the very first bracha of Shemana Esrei, the Pirush Hamilas, and the meaning of the words we're saying. Lachatchila, once it becomes dawn, Amad HaShachar, one should not leave one's house till one davens first, the whole Shemana Esrei standing. But what happens if you left already? And you could daven when you're walking. Even if when you'll come to the place where you're going to arrive, you still have time to daven, you're still allowed to daven on the way. You don't have to wait until where you are going to reach your destination and daven there standing. Since you already have a chiyuv to daven, and min ha'alpidin, even when you're traveling, you could be yoytze davening. You don't have to push off the mitzvah, and you're allowed to daven now even though you're sitting and you're not standing. But it is a mitzvah min ha'muvchar to wait. It's appropriate, not pi halacha, but appropriate to wait until you get to your destination and daven there standing. As long as you know that in your location where you're arriving, you'll have a private place you could daven that your family, the children won't disturb you.
Rabbi.
Yes.
Good question. The conservative shul invites Talmid Chacham to speak on Torah over there. Not to go in and give it a Torah and also pray.
They invite you to what?
They had a Talmid Chacham to some Torah in their shul. Is he allowed to go in there and teach them and also pray?
You can pray there. Regarding teaching them, that's something which has to be discussed with a wise Rav, because in certain situations where you're coming to teach them, sometimes things can be different. I mean, I don't know if it should be in the sanctuary, but let's say there have been situations where Orthodox teachers have gone to teach in conservative day schools. Under certain circumstances, that was allowed because they were teaching them Yiddishkeit. But definitely not allowed to pray. Not allowed to pray in their temples and their shuls. You can't pray there. Whether you're allowed to go into the sanctuary and teach there, that I'm not sure if you're allowed to actually go into the sanctuary and teach. You know, you're learning in a side room, which is not the prayer room. Teaching them, things might be different. Reminds me of a story. I don't know if I've mentioned the story in the past, but when I was a bacher and I was on a shlichus, a summer shlichus, maybe like 15 years ago, a little earlier, maybe 20 years ago, was in California. I was in a location. We went to the place. We felt that if we visited the conservative and the Reform rabbi first, then when we met people, it would be easier to talk to them about Yiddishkeit, because we say we met your rabbi already, you know, but we weren't going to go into their actual shul to meet them in their office and, you know, talk to them. So the conservative rabbi actually was someone who grew up in an Orthodox family. Not only that, he learned in Bedford and Dean, the Lubavitch Yeshiva. He learned there. His family wasn't Chabad, but they were local Crown Heights residents. They sent their son to learn here for high school, for maybe elementary also. And he remembered a lot of the older men. When we were there, he was already an elderly man. he remembers clearly, he says, I learned in school with Rabbi Ozdova, with Rabbi Krinsky. I learned with all the Chabad Rabbanim and people. He remembered Rabbi Bogomilsky and everyone, and he wanted to know how they're doing. I don't know if they remembered him, but he had remembered them, and he remembered their personalities. But, after he left high school, he went on to college. And at some point later on, he decided he wants to go into rabbinics. And he entered into the, we're talking about here in the, in the 60s and, maybe the late 50s. And he went into the conservative university, whatever they study, and he went and became a conservative rabbi. He actually had a picture of the Alter Rebbe in his office. The one with the Alter Rebbe made out of words of Tanya. He was already emeritus at that time. He just become like emeritus, and there was a new rabbi there. But Lamaisa, he was trying to say how he really is trying, he's much more frum than everyone around him, and he makes sure that they have two separate kitchens, one milk, one meat. I mean, I think the meat was treif, but it was separate. Basa v'chalav was separate. Anyways, it was an interesting meeting. He actually left. He said he left yeshiva. I think he said that he remembered in 1950. And 1950 was when the Frierdiker Rebbe passed away. And he remembered that everyone in Chabad was learning the Maimer of the Frierdiker Rebbe Basi Lagani. And he actually remembered the first paragraph by heart. So he was sitting in his office and he started to tell us over. And he said it was such a beautiful hemshich to learn. I really got to get back to that one day. It was an interesting fellow. But anyways, I'll tell you a story with this fellow. Was we later on we were going around during the day. We would visit store to store to ask people, is anyone Jewish here? And speak to them about Yiddishkeit and try to make a meeting with them. And if you can get to speak to them in their home, and like the Chabad style. So we went during the day to the houses, and at night we would make phone calls, cold calling. We would take out the phone book and look up all the names that sounded Jewish. Someone's name, Goldstein, Silver. Call them up, say, hi, we're rabbis visiting town from New York. We're looking to meet local Jewish people. And would you like to meet? Are you Jewish? And, it wasn't the easy work. But the hope was you finally get through to someone and who wouldn't hang up the phone and would talk to you. So anyway, we were going during the day from store to store. We went to an animal doctor, veterinarian. We stopped off in it was such a type of store. The secretary at the door, we said, is that the doctor's name was Dr. Schwartz. So we said, is Dr. Schwartz in? Is he, she said he's Jewish, yes. So, always the Goyim give off all the information. So he's Jewish. So anyways, he came out from back over there, he was taking care of his animal patients. He came out and he was so happy to meet with us. And it turned out that he was in the Reform Temple, not the considered Reform Temple. And he had said that he leads a Torah study group there, a Bible study group every Shabbos morning. They get together a few guys, and men, women, I guess, and they study, they look at the parasha of the week. And I'm not sure if the parasha is the same as our parasha, but they go through the parasha and they discuss it. So he knows how the Reform learn Torah. He wants to know how the Orthodox learn Torah. He was very intrigued how we learn Torah. So he wanted to know whether we could come give the class. So we said, we can't give the class Shabbat. We're very busy. So during the week, he said we can come to his house. It was beautiful. We came to his house and he set up a day like a week ahead. He told all his friends and his neighbors to come to visit these strange people from New York, these rabbis, wearing these beards. And we come to his backyard. He had like a little fire pit. There was a fire going on. And they were middle-aged people, and they were all around. Now, before we came, we asked if we could sell some books, some Sfarim. We brought in our trunk of a car. We traveled around with Sfarim in English and also tapes. The days when there was tapes. So there were tapes we had from the Nigunim or different lectures. So we set up a little table in his house, and people, after we were going to have the talk, the meeting with them, they would be able to come and so we came to the backyard, we sat there and around, and slowly they started to ask a lot of questions, and they were a lot of tough questions. Some of the guys, people were very tough. How come you don't go to the army, and how come you do this? And some of them came with newspaper articles, which they had held underneath their chair. They pulled it out. Look what you guys are doing. The Orthodox. Okay, we said, we're a different group. We're not that group. We're not this group. It was a really interesting meeting. And the ending, they really came over. It was very nice. We sat there for like 3 hours with them, a whole group. And they came inside the house, and they were buying different svarim, and it was a really amazing event. Baruch Hashem. Anyways, in between this time that we had met this fellow, and we had scheduled this meeting, until the meeting happened, we had went in to meet a Reform rabbi also. So that earlier I was telling about the conservative rabbi, we meant to meet the Reform rabbi. So we came to the Reform rabbi, and we met him in his office in his temple. He didn't even wear a yarmulke when he met us. So, it was like, really, the conservative rabbis, both the young one, the older one, they wore yarmulke. The Reform, he didn't even wear a yarmulke. Anyways, he told us that he heard that we're meeting with Dr. Schwartz and we're going to meet with his congregants. He didn't like it, of course, but he had to be, pleasant about it, liberal. So he said that, but he wanted to let us know that it wasn't a big catch. He said, Dr. Schwartz, he's a literalist. Like he's into literal reading. That's why he's interested into Orthodox interpretation. We shouldn't make too much of it. He's just a literal thinking individual. The Maisa was this guy, this Reform rabbi. He was complaining that his own daughter became frum. She became so frum, she married someone from Meir Sha'arim. And he told us that his kids look at him like he's a kofer. And when they come to visit town, they don't daven by him. They stay in his house, but they walk 45 minutes to the Chabad shul. And he shows solidarity with them. He drives the way to the Chabad shul to daven with them on Shabbos in Chabad. It's a very big busha for him. It's a oila oisa busha when you're a former rabbi of a huge congregation, tremendous congregation. And Nebuch, his children became Meir Sha'arimniks. This is like the worst calamity. He must probably sat Shiva when this happened. I can only imagine. Anyways, the thing was, he said something very interesting to us, which was really brought out a very important way. He said to us, listen, I know you guys, you won't pray in our temple. He said, but I don't really understand why not. I'm not against if you want to keep 613 mitzvahs, Tayag mitzvahs. I tell my congregants, we teach, if I meet one of them, they talk to me about it. I see if they're into food, I tell them keep kosher. If they're into another thing, I tell them keep this halach, this mitzvah. He told us that in my temple, I don't say the word God commanded. It's a little too strong language. It's very strong language to say God commanded, so he can't use that language. It's soft, God suggested, he doesn't want to say God commanded. Anyways, Chman al-Islam. But Lapayil, he said, listen, people can keep 1 mitzvah, 2, 3. You want to keep 613, keep 613, you're welcome. Come and sit in my temple and keep 613. Why don't the Orthodox want to pray with me? So I said to him, I didn't want to argue with him, and everything. I said, it's a little different. The 613 you hold are arbitrary. You don't have to keep it. So if you want, you can keep 613. We hold the 613 is from Hashem, 613 commandments. And there's a letter from the Rebbe which brings out this point very strongly, where the Rebbe says a very interesting point. If you have a Jew which keeps all the mitzvahs in the Torah, but he doesn't believe Torah in Hashemayim, or he doesn't believe in Hashem, or something else which qualifies you as a heretic, as a kofer, apikoros, you're not apikoros. Even though you're so frum, you keep every single one of the Tayag mitzvahs. But if you don't believe this is min Hashemayim, you're a kofer. So you can be frum, religious, but you keep all the Shulchan Aruch, but if you don't believe, you're not a believer. On the other hand, if you believe in Hashem, you believe Torah is min Hashemayim, but you have a big Yetzer Hara, and the person's not keeping Torah mitzvahs, he's not fulfilling the mitzvahs, he's not a kofer, he's not a heretic. He has a big Yetzer Hara, he's doing a lot of Avedas, but he's not an apikoros. He's a Maimon B'Hashem. Just he has a Yetzer Hara which he needs to work on. unique perspective. So that's the
Rabbi,
very
where does Torah fall to?
Korach. Korach, when you look into the stories, the Sifrei Chasidus of all different tzaddikim, Korach suddenly becomes a very big tzaddik. So he had very big intentions. There was obviously a big Aveda, but we read about the Meraglim, and you read in Chassidish Svarim who the Meraglim were. They had holy intentions, and Korach had holy intentions. He used to say about one of the big tzaddikim, not from the Chabad Rebbes, from other Rebbes, then he used to say, Shabbos Parshas Korach, he used to talk about the Zayda Korach.
Heilige Zayda.
The Heilige Zayda Korach.
But you know, Tzaddik Atamar
That's
Yitzchak,
funny.
for Tavis is Korach.
I hear. Lamaisa is Korach definitely was more than Hashem. I don't. He didn't hold that everything Moshe Rabbeinu said came from Hashem. He didn't hold that He believed in communism. He said, "Kulam, kol ha'eda kulam kedoshim. Madua tisnasu akal Hashem." Why should you lift yourself over the Kahal Hashem? So although the Meraglim, the Korach, might have had holy aspirations, but not all holy aspirations are the right aspirations. Feeling holy doesn't mean we're doing the right thing. Doing what Hashem says is the right thing. Sometimes we could feel very spiritual, we could feel very holy, we could feel very emotional, we could cry, and we could feel uplifted, but it's not necessarily the right thing that we're doing. We have to be an Eved Hashem. Whatever we're told, we're told. What we're not told, we're not told. So that's... Okay, so Lamaisa, getting back to the halachas that we're learning. If someone is traveling on a boat or on a wagon, and he's nervous to stand up, he's afraid he might fall, he's allowed to sit. However, he could stand by the place where you bow down, the brachas which you have to bow. And not only, very interesting, if someone's riding on an animal, he should go and take the animal back 3 steps backwards, and that will be as if he's going back 3 steps. So maybe if you're driving, you could also go back three steps when you're driving. Just look where you're backing up. But as that's the halacha, now an older person, he does not need to stand, he could sit, as well as someone who's not feeling well, he can, sit, and they can even lay down when he's davening. As long as he can have kavana, he could even lay down when he's davening. What happens if he's so weak, he can't even daven with his mouth? It exerts himself to read the davening. He can maybe say a word or two, but to read a whole davening is a lot of energy for him. He's weak. So he should just have it in mind in his heart. Look at the words and have it in mind. Like we see in the Pasuk, it says, Imru bilvavchem al mishkavchem. Say it in your hearts while lying in your bed. Now, during davening, one should not lean on anything. You should be standing up. If you lean on something, so then you're not standing. So let's say you have a shtender or a bima, you shouldn't lean on it when you're davening. You should stand up. You could siddur could be on it. You could put your hands on it, but you're not leaning on it. You're not soymech on the bima to the point that if we remove the bima, you will fall. Move the shtender, you fall. You have to stand. Now, discussing the shaila that you brought up, the Pinchas, you brought up a shaila before about davening in front of a getchkev, in front of a base of a zara. So we have such an interesting din over here that what happens if you were traveling on the way, and you're near a kretschma, a maloin shalnachem, a goyisha motel. And so if you could, you don't want to daven in there because it's better not to daven in there, because in the Beis HaGoy, it for sure has Avodah Zarah there. And you shouldn't bring anything in there, Davar Sheva Kedusha. Where Moshe Rabbeinu says, Kitseisi Yisir, he did not want to daven in Mitzrayim, because Mitzrayim, everywhere you went in Mitzrayim, all the streets, everywhere was full of idols. So it wasn't a place he wanted to daven. So Moshe left the city to daven. So if you could go to the instead of going into the house, to the motel, go to the side of the road and to a place where you assume that people who are travelers who are traveling by will not bother you. It's better to do that. But if you don't have a choice, and if you're going to daven on the side of the road, you're going to get disturbed. People are going to disturb you, ask you, what are you doing here? And they're going to questioning you. So then go inside the Goyisha motel and daven there in a corner. So the family shouldn't bother you. And you should not be concerned to all the Gilulim, all to the Avodas Gilul, to the Gilulim there, because all of our davenings, as Mamash what we were speaking earlier, all of our davenings are in cities full of Getchkes. We don't have any way about it. The city's full of Avodah Zarah. So just go to a corner where there's no Avodah Zarah and daven in that corner. Obviously, we're not talking about that the hotel itself is a base of Avodah Zarah. It's not a house of worship. It's just a Goyish house in the motel, and he has Getchkes there. But if it's set up specially to pray and worship to the Getchke, for sure you're not allowed to daven there. That's a church. It's a cloister, a kirche. However, if you're in a non-Jewish house, better not to daven in there. But if you don't have no choice, just go to a corner and don't look that way, because the entire city, all our davenings are in cities full of Getchkes. We don't have that choice. Now, Moshe Rabbeinu, every time he wanted to daven, went out of the city. We're not going to go 3 times a day, run outside the city to daven. We can't do that. You go to a corner, you go to a place where you're not facing the Getchke. A few more halachas before we go. During davening, we put our 2 feet together during Shemana Esrei. B'chalal, what we're discussing in these halachas is mainly all Shemana Esrei, all these halachas. That's the main part of davening. When someone davens, you should put 2 feet together, because when the 2 feet are together, it looks like 1 foot. Because then we're compared to malachim. Malachim, it says, V'ragleim regel yishara, that it seems that their feet are like 1 foot, malachim. As well, when we say Kedusha, even not during Shemana Esrei, but during Chazaras Hashatz, we're saying that, what are we saying? Nagdishach v'naritzach, we're going to make you holy. V'naritzach, kinoyem siach soitzach kodesh, like the malachim do. Kedusha is all about, we're saying Kadesh, Baruch, Yimleich, these are the Shevach that malachim give to Hashem. So when we say Kedusha also, we should be standing like malachim with our 2 feet together. Another nekuda, when we daven, we go forward in front of him 3 steps. Why do we go forward 3 steps? That like you're entering into something, you're going closer to it. Now, by the way, from here you see, you don't have to go back 3 steps. In shul, people go back 3 steps in order to go forward 3 steps. The reason people do that is because usually we're standing in front of a table and you don't have space to walk ahead. But if you have space to walk ahead, you can theoretically just walk 3 steps ahead to daven. If you want to daven in your makom kavua, So you go back 3 steps, and you go back into your 3 steps where you're climbing, where you don't want to go into someone else's space. But I'm just saying, in Inyan, there's no Inyan dafka that you have to walk back 3 steps and then walk forward 3 steps. The Inyan is to walk forward towards the Shekhinah to daven to Hashem. During davening, one should stand like an eved lifnei rabbi, like a servant before his master, with fear of Hashem. You shouldn't put your hands on your waist. It's like a gaiva, like you're putting your hands on your waist. You don't talk to Hashem that way. You stand with a pachad, not like you're all comfortable with yourself. You're confident about yourself. It's better you should put your hands one on top of the other, the right hand on the left hand in front of you, in places where that's how they talk to the king. But in other places where they don't do that, they put their hands like this, and they, talk to the king. You could do something else. In our countries, people don't talk to an official that way, but people put their hands by their sides. You're not going to do anything. You stand respectfully when you're talking to someone of a position, someone of power. Another halacha, when you're davening, one should not hold in one's hands anything, not tefillin, not a sefer of Tanakh. You should not hold a plate, money, food, because you're concerned that they might drop and you'll lose your kavanah. But other things, which if they drop, they will not hurt anyone, and you don't care about them, you're allowed to hold on to it. Let's say maybe a tissue, right? If you don't care about the tissue, you drop the tissue from your hands, big deal. However, it's a mitzvah and a muchar not to hold anything in your hands. But me'ikar halacha, you could hold something in your hands which is not going to disturb you if it drops. Now, what about a lulav, holding a lulav in davening? A lulav during Sukkot time you're allowed to, because that's what you do that time of the year. It's a mitzvah. It's not something which is going to distract you. You're also allowed to hold your siddur in your hands because you're holding it for the purpose of davening. So you're not getting disturbed by it. Adrabah, it's helping you daven. However, if you started davening and you did not have in your hands a siddur, there's no siddur around you, you shouldn't turn backwards to go find the siddur in the middle of the Shemoneh Esrei, because it's a hefsek. Unless it's in a spot right in front of you, like right in front of you, ready to take. It's on the stender, on the beam, on the table, right in front of you, you can pick it up. But to go stretch yourself out, to go on to another table or behind you to find the siddur, if you don't remember the words of davening, then yes, you should do that. However, if you know the words of davening, you shouldn't do that. That's a hefsek.
Rabbi.
Yes.
If before into Shemoneh Esrei, if you started collecting daka, hold that dollar in your hand, just keep on davening, close your eyes, not move, let him take it out of your hand. If you're gonna miss him, if he's gonna leave.
Maybe put it on the table. You could take it from the table. Leave it in front of you. I wouldn't put it in your hands, put it on the table, and this way he could take it from the table. You could put a little note. Whoever wants, every tzedakah collector could take $1. Hope they're honest and they only take $1 each. In the olden days, the Siddurim, not so long ago, but Siddurim were not published the way we have today, where everything's in its proper place. Let's say they wanted to jalav on paper. they didn't want to print so many pages. Let's say Shemona Esrei, they wouldn't make a separate Shemona Esrei for Shachris, Mincha, Meir. Just half for Shachris. When you come to Mincha, you write just Ashrei, and tell everyone to go look back for Shemona Esrei. Same thing with Ma'ariv. No need to repeat the Shemona Esrei. So there was a lot of this in older Siddurim. You could still see them in, let's say, the reprints of the Torah Or Siddur and the Chabad Siddur that some people still like to use because, let's say, the Rebbe would daven such a Siddur and things like that. You see that you have to flip around for parts of davening. So the Shulchan Aruch tells you that if such a case, a person should make sure you have clear before davening, before you start, you know which pages you're turning to. You have everything marked down. This way, you're not going to have to start searching and davening. Where is the part of davening I need to daven? What happens if during Shemona Esrei a sefer fell on the floor? Can I pick it up? So the halacha is, if you cannot have kavana, well, you're allowed to pick it up when you finish the bracha that you're in the middle of. Not in the middle of a bracha. When you finish the bracha, Baruch Atah Hashem Choinin Hadas, you can go pick up that sefer because it's disturbing you that it's on the floor. But if it's not disturbing you, you can continue davening. The mitzvah next week we'll continue, and I'm not sure. It could be next week we're going to be in the shul. I don't know what the story is, but if next week the oilam will be in shul, then I'll be in shul. If the oilam's still on Zoom, we'll still do Zoom, whatever the oilam wants. I know that today.
You could be in shul and Zoom too, together.
So I'll be wherever the majority is. Or wherever the shul wants. Whatever the shul wants.
Okay.
Today they started phase 2, so I know a lot of more people are coming out of hiding.
Good Chodesh.
A good Chodesh, everyone, a good Chodesh.
Chodesh, thank you.
Should be a Chodesh, a Geula Taka, and...
Amen. Can you...
And definitely not holding the telephone while you're davening.
Yes, for sure not. And if you're using your phone to daven, which you shouldn't, I think, but if you are, because you don't have a siddur, you should somehow block off all the, you shouldn't see all the messages coming up when you're davening, all the alerts. I can't think of a more disturbing davening than looking on the phone with all the WhatsApps and the texts going on. The Vayla, I don't know if there's a way to WhatsApp Hashem. So
Rav Chaim Kanievsky said that whoever goes into shul should close the phone.
Right.
Close. That's what he's saying. He's right. He has a point.
Put it on silent and close the phone. He's right. He's right. Phone. We have to be more makpid. We lost our shuls for 3 months. We have to remember to treat the shul with respect. And treat ourselves with some respect.
So bizarre.
Yeah, we should have only good news and Besudas Toivus.
Amen.
Last night gave it here, but it's only last night.
Gesund, Kol Tov.
Thank you very much.
Rosen gave it here.
No problem, Kol Tov.
Thank you.
Thank you.